Okay, adding and subtracting algebraic fractions. Alright, if the denominators are the same, just add or subtract the numerators. So if you have a look at the example below, they both have the same denominator of 2, so you keep that 2. And all we do is we just write 2 as your common denominator, and then just simply add 1a. Remember, if there's no number in front of the pronumeral, it's always a 1. So 1a plus 3a, so 1a, oops, there's the a, plus 3a, that is equal to 4a on 2. Now, that is not in simplest form, so we need to now simplify and say how many times does 2 go into 4? Obviously that's 2 times, and we keep the a. Okay, so the first thing that you need to remember, that if you're adding or subtracting algebraic fractions and the denominators are the same, you just keep it. You don't need to do anything other than that, and then add the numerators. Alright, the next one, the next slide, hopefully, let's have a look. How do I go? There we go. Alright, having a look at the second slide, here the denominators are not the same. So if you remember back to year 7, we have to find a common denominator. The easiest way of doing this is to multiply 3 times 2. So the 3 and the 2, if we multiply those, we get 6. So that's my common denominator. Now, this is the hard part, so pay close attention so that you can get it on the first go. Alright, so going back to year 7 and fractions, what do you do? You say, well, 3 times what gives me 6? 3 times 2. But if I multiply the denominator here by 2, I must also multiply the numerator by 2. So whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. So then we say 2 times 2x is 4x. So, oh gosh, cancel. So that's 4x. Alright, 2 times 2x is 4x. Then I go to 9 and put a minus next to it, because that's what we're doing. We are subtracting. See here, subtracting. So the subtraction sign must go there. Okay, make it stand out. I'll extend the fraction bar. Alright, then 2 times what gives me 6? Well, obviously that's times 3. So I also multiply the numerator by 3. So 3 times x is 3x. Okay, now because they both have the same common denominator, I keep that. I keep the 6. And all I do now is say, well, 4x minus 3x is 1x. And I can write it as 1x, so I can just write x. And I can't go any further. I can't simplify it, so I just leave it. And there's your answer. Okay, now let's have a look at the next slide. Okay, the next one says if the denominator is a pronumeral, you still need to find a common denominator. So let's have a look at an example here. Let's say we have 2 over 3x minus 1 over 4x. Alright, so see here, I need to find a common denominator again. Just like before, we multiply 3 times 4, that gives me 12. And I need an x, because both denominators have an x. Okay, then it's just as what we've done in the earlier, using the earlier slide. Sorry, I've got a very sore throat. Alright, let's keep going. So, I say 3 times what gives me 12? Well, it was obviously 4. So 3x times 4 gives me that 12x that I need. So if I multiply the denominator by 4, I must also multiply the numerator by 4. Alright, 4 times 2 is 8. So I write the 8. Then it's a minus. Then 4x times what gives me 12x? Well, that's times 3. So because I'm multiplying the denominator by 3, I multiply the numerator by 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, and now subtract 8 minus 3, that gives me 5, over 12x. And I can't simplify that, so I just leave it. I don't need to do anything else. I just leave it like that. Alright, let's do one more and see how we go. Alright, number 2 then. Call this number 2. Let's have a go at something a little bit more difficult. Now this is a bit challenging, but we'll see how we go. X plus 4 at the bottom, plus 3 bracket x minus 2. Now this is more challenging because we have x plus 4 and x minus 2 is my common denominator. But just like before, what did I do in the first example? I multiply 3x times 4x. Well, here I'm multiplying x plus 4 times x minus 2. So that's my common denominator, and I keep it like that. Okay, then, just like I did before, 3x times what gave me that 12x? Well, it was the 4 times 3x gave me that 12x. Here, x plus 4 times what gives me this denominator that I have here? Well, it would be times x minus 2. So that means I now need to multiply the numerator by x minus 2. And what do? I write it like this. 2 bracket x minus 2 plus. That plus from the middle here. Okay, then x minus 2 times what gives me that whole denominator that I have here? Well, it'll be x plus 4. So again, I multiply the 3 by x plus 4. So I write it on the side, x plus 4. Okay, now, just like before, what do I do next? I expand the brackets, remember? That means 2 times x, so it's 2x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Then I multiply everything inside the bracket by that plus 3. So 3 times x is plus 3x. And 3 times 4 gives me 12. Over all of that denominator that I have, the x plus 4 and the x minus 2. I don't do anything with that, we just leave it. Then finally, we collect, hang on, what happened here? Sorry. We collect like terms. 2x plus 3x is 5x. And then minus 4 plus 12 is 8. Over, and I keep the denominator, x plus 4 and x minus 2. Now, that's my final answer. I don't do anything else. Now, I just keep it like that. This was example number 1, and this is example number 2. Now, example number 2, you'll probably need to go over it a few times for it to make sense. So, keep going through it and having a go and copy all of this down into your theory books and write down the rules that I've written there. Okay, now the next slide is, now let's have a go together. Alright, so let's just pick some questions from the exercise that you're about to do yourselves. Let's start with an easy one. 2y, hang on, let me rub that off. Take that out. Alright, there, I'll start again. Alright, what is it? 2y over 3 minus y over 4 equals. Common denominator first. Remember, you multiply the 3 times 4. That gives me 12. And then 3 times what gives me 12? Well, I already know it's 4, and therefore I must multiply the top by 4 as well. And 4 times 2y is 8y minus. Then I go to the next one. 4 times what gives me 12? 3. So I'll multiply the top by 3, and that's 3y. Now, 8y minus 3y, 5y over 12. And that's the final answer. Alright. Let's do one more together. And let's see. Or maybe a couple more. Hang on. Let's just rub this off again. Let's go back to number 2 over here. 1 over 6x plus, let's say, 3 over 5x. Okay. Now, 6 times 5 is 30, and we only need one x. You don't need to have the x squared, because I know you're going to say, well, we can multiply 6x times 5x is 30x squared. But we only need one x because each of the denominators have one x. So just stick to the 1, makes it easier. Right, 6x times what gives me 30x? Well, that's easy, times 5. So I multiply the numerator by 5, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus 5x times what gives me 30x? That's times 6. Multiply the numerator by 6, that's 18. Okay, I'll just write the answer here because I need more space for the next question. So 18 plus 5 is 23 over 30x, and I leave it. It doesn't simplify, so I just leave it. Okay, and last one. Go for another tough question. Now remember, don't give up because you think, oh, these are too hard. No, I can't do them. No. Don't be a wimp, just give it a go. 2x minus 1 over 5. And then let's go with minus 2x plus 1 over 6. First step, find a common denominator. 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, 5 times what gives me 30? Well, it was 6, so therefore I must multiply the numerator by 6. Because I have 2 terms in the numerator, I put brackets. So now you know that as soon as you're going to have brackets, you're going to have to expand very soon. And then there's that minus. Don't forget that minus. 6 times what gives me 30? Times 5. So I need to multiply the whole of the numerator by 5. And again, I write it with a negative 5, 2x plus 1. Now, expand the brackets. 6 times 2x is 12x. 6 times negative 1 is minus 6. Now remember, it's negative 5 times 2x. It's negative 10x. And negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Put it all over 30. Okay. Now, what's next? Collecting like terms. 12x minus 10x, 2x, minus 6 minus 5. If you can't do this just like that, use your calculators. So don't make silly errors, you don't make silly mistakes. hang on, negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11. Again, I'll press something I shouldn't have. Okay, so that's 2x minus 11 over 30. And that's your final answer, 2x minus 11 over 30. Now, you may think that this is tough, but you just take it one step at a time and see how you go. Please go over this a couple of times, listen to it, have a go yourselves, and then attempt the exercise 2F from the booklet on algebra and equations. And I'll list the questions that I want you to do. Remember, this is all going to be in your next assessment. So, as I said, take your time with it. Go over it again and again until you have a fair understanding of what you're doing. Alright, make sure that you do have a go at these questions. Alright, and that's it for now, and good luck with your questions.